Hi, this is Zoe, the Tantalising Stamper. Today I'm going to show you how to do faux metal embossing. It's an interesting technique, a little bit different, but I hope you enjoy it and I hope you'll give it a try. Cheers, bye. Let's get started then. So I have a standard card base, garden green, and I've folded it in a tent fold position. I've also used the textured notes dies, which are now on the last chance list. So I've got that one, I've got one in garden green, another one in white that's going to sit on there, and then I've also got one for my sentiment. So if we just pop those over to one side and we'll move those out of the way. I've also got a piece of white that I've already got a little bit of embossing powder on here, but it doesn't matter. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to use silver embossing powder, and I've also got the Ladybug from the Springtime Scenes stamp set. So I've got this little chap here, and this is what I'm going to use. And I've also used the dies with that set, so it's a great bundle. To do the faux embossing, I would decide what your image, let me put my teeth in. Decide what your image is going to be first of all, because you don't want to use tons and tons of embossing powder, cover a whole piece of card and then just put a little image. So obviously I can get a rough idea of how big that is, and I'm actually going to cut around this once I've faux embossed it. So the first thing to do is to ink up your stamp so it's ready, because what you will be doing is pressing this into your molten embossing powder, and you don't want it to stick, so you want to make sure you've got plenty of Versamark on so that you can do that. Then you want to put some embossing powder in a space big enough that your ladybug will fit, just by smoothing it over. You could drag it a little bit to start off with, but just pad quite well over enough space. And I get my little tray, get my powder, and I'm going to put that over the top like that. And I'm going to tap it off, not too excess. It doesn't matter if there is excess, but you're going to put another layer in a moment. So the first thing I will then do is tip this back into the pot so that I can then use it the second and possibly a third time. So we'll just brush that in. You want to try not to get embossing powder everywhere, and with this you'll want to watch how you use your heat gun, because it can blow it very easily into other places. So I've done that. I've now got my heat tool that I will just melt the embossing powder. So let's do it from the behind. There we go. I've actually probably even gone too big for the ladybug. So that's now melted, and I'm going to add, just be careful that it's not too hot, but I'm going to add some more Versamark. Bring back the tray. And this time I'm not going to pick it up straight away, because once I've heated it this time, I need to get the third layer on as quickly as possible. Make sure it's all nicely melted. And then this time I'm actually going to try and get more central with the powder that I add. I might have gone in a little bit too soon there. Might be better to let it cool a little bit more, I think, in future. And we'll just double check that we got that inked enough. Put some powder on. Move that out of the way. And that out of the way. And we'll heat it again. And you'll see it gets smoother and smoother each layer that you put on. And it heats because your heat tool is melted. So we want to keep that nice and warm. Pick up the stamp, pop that on the thickest part, and just leave that. Push it in, but then let it cool. And when you peel it off, you get this lovely embossed faux metal look. Then with a pair of snips, as I said, I'm just going to cut around this, and it's up to you how much border that you might leave, but just literally a little bit of fussy cutting. And I found that this was easy enough to do. Obviously, if you had some images, larger images, you might want to just leave the image as part of the faux metal and then decorate around it. But this is such a wee one that it was easy to use some snips. And I'm obviously going to put him somewhere safe, but you get this lovely texture. Then I'll bring back my card and we'll start to build it. So as I said, I had my rectangle from the textured notes dies. Cut this one. This one I cut out of the middle because I knew I was going to cover it. I've got embossing powder everywhere now. So I'm going to put that one on there and then that one on there. These will sit on here. And I think we'll have a little bit of ribbon as well. So this is the garden green chevron ribbon, which I think came in the spring. And I'm going to just add a little bit across there. So if we snip that so it's ready now, give myself plenty of room to tuck the edges in. So with seal, and it doesn't matter if it overlaps because that aperture is going to get covered. So I don't need to worry about that. We can pop that over the top so it will be hidden. Now we need to do a little bit of stamping on this white rectangle. And I've got the leaf from the Ladybug stamp set and garden green ink, very old pad. And I've also got some clear embossing and my Versamark. So I thought it would be nice just to give it a little bit of gloss. So what you can do, I don't have green embossing powder, but I can stamp this stamp, get it nice and inky with Versamark, and then gently just tap it to get the green. And then I can stamp it onto here. Just give it a push, let it settle, take it off, and then with clear embossing powder, I've got in my old margarine pot, also very old, just like the ink pad, tip that over. And heat that. So I don't know if you can see on camera, but it does give it just a little bit of shine and a bit of depth and texture. So that I will then start to put together. This time I'm going to use some wet glue to make sure this adheres down onto my base card. So you can see the little tab, but as I said before, is going to disappear. This is the layer I'm going to use some sticky pad, some dimensionals. So just raise it so that it gives a little bit of depth, but not too much. Got to bear in mind that I want this to fit over that hole, so I need to just be a little bit careful with where I've put them. Although the one extra layer won't create too much difficulty in getting this over the top here. There we go. Then this one, I'm going to add some flowers, and I cut these before I started as well. Let's just close that before it gets in the way. I think we'll shut the Versamark for the time being. So I cut several flowers using the dies that coordinate with the springtime scenes. It's a beautiful die set. Let me just fetch it. You've got all these pieces. So this will cut this whole circle with leaves. On my Facebook page, you can see a card where I've used that. This one, it cuts this piece out and then cuts all the bits of the leaves. So you just get a silhouette. Fits on there. You've got various different leaves and flowers and a frame, and some coordinate with the stamp set and some don't. So you can see you could cut the ladybird out, but I chose not to. I felt that scissors would be easier, and I didn't want to crush the embossing that I'd created. So I've just cut with scissors. It's an easy one to do, but if you did a bigger image, you might want to think about die cutting it, or otherwise just leaving it in the whole piece. Maybe test a small piece first. So there we go. And this is a little, you get 2 of these dies, which is really nice, but you also, it cuts this little circle in the middle, and I've kept those pieces because what I'm going to do is use a runaway strip of sticky dots. Let's find where we're at. And I'm going to stick the flower onto the middle of the dot, and then grab one of these. If I use my scissors, I can probably stab that, she says. Maybe not. That's it. And pop it. Now this is a little bit fiddly, and you might want to do different things like put gems on, but I wanted specifically to have these middles. So I just push that down onto the glue, or maybe not, push it down onto the glue dot. Maybe that will be easier, possibly. Yeah. Stick all the flowers on. If we stick the flowers on, we can come back to the circles. Typically, they don't come with it in most cases. Maybe if I use my picker tool and some putty, this might bring it up a little better. I suspect I first need to get them off the cutting mat. Oh no, it's going to work. Brilliant. There, that's much easier. So I'm putting them back in the middle on the glue dots, and then I will colour them with a marker. A Stampin' blend. Oh look, that one's come up. The whole piece has come. Perfect. That final one there. I'll just do those few for now. I think that might be enough. Keep those spare. Ooh, although these have come out rather easily out of the die. There, I've definitely got enough now. We can leave those on the strip so we know where they are. But then with a Stampin' blend, I've got Lemon Lime Twist. I'm using the dark one to make sure I've got bold enough colour to show. Just colouring those circles very carefully in the centre. And I'm keeping it all to green for the time being. We'll miss that one because I didn't get it in very well. Hopefully I'll have spare, and I can abandon the ones that didn't work so well. There we go. So here we've got the ladybug. I'm going to add that again with some glue dots, because I don't want it to be too stuck out. So I'm just pushing those on the back straight off the paper. There we go, we put him on there. And then we can add some flowers. Just a few to make it a little bit more interesting. But the colours are just really simple. Green and white. And then I might add, I'll show you 2 ways, because I made one earlier, a good old Blue Peter moment for those who are old enough. And we'll pop that on with some adhesive. So I've got some Tombow in my squirty tube. Pop that on the centre like that. Then I've also got a lemon lime piece for my sentiment, and I've chosen Sending Love, which is from the Friendly Foliage set. So it's got Sending Love here, fits in this little box nicely. And again, I'm going to emboss this, but I'm going to emboss it with white. And because I want it to be nice and clear, I'm going to use my embossing buddy on this occasion. So give that a good rub. Make sure I've got my stamp straight. Use Versamark. You could use your white craft pad as well. Oh, my stamp isn't sticking. And it's gone wonky. Oh, never mind. So I've got that. Keep my fingers off it, hopefully. Get my powder tray. And I've got some white embossing powder here. Pop that on. Perhaps get a little bit more at the bottom there. And we'll just heat that as well. So I've got that sentiment done. It's not too bad. After all that, and I'm going to pop that on here, and this I will add dimensionals again. Oh, they're over here. So we'll put a couple at this end, and then I want it to overlap, so I might just pop one on there so I know where that is rather than on the back, and it overhang and doesn't go in the right place. Get these backings off. There we go. Bring it down a little bit. And then we can add a couple more of the flowers. Perhaps go one in there. Underneath there maybe. I always say you should have odd numbers, so maybe we'll stop there with those. And there we go. So if we clear the decks, you can see the card. And then the slight change I made on my original was I added some red by using a red stamping blend to just add some red and lift the ladybird a little bit more. But obviously that's personal choice, and you can see the two there and make your own decision. The 2 finished cards, you'll notice when I talked about the red, I meant adding red to rhinestones. This one I haven't put rhinestones on. I think I'll probably add them. As I mentioned, I used the Friendly Foliage and Springtime Scenes and the Textured Notes dies. All of these items are in my shop, and you can find the information on my blog, stampingscene.blogspot.com. Do also go and look at everyone else on the blog hop. That is also available on my blog. Click round and see their examples of the faux metal embossing technique. Cheers, see you soon.